everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Amy.
And I'm Beck.
And on this channel we talk about all things holistic health, beauty and lifestyle. So for today's video we're going to be talking about how to eat healthy and be social, so going out and ordering a healthy meal with friends.
So in choosing this topic, we actually headed to our Facebook group and asked the ladies there what they would like to hear more about from us. So this was a very highly requested video. And we understand because when you change up your diet and start trying to follow a more healthy lifestyle, the social aspect of it can be quite tricky to navigate. So we're making it for you guys that voted, and if anyone wants to be part of our private group, just head to the Cultivate Health and Beauty community. We are a private Facebook group where, if you post to our board, it won't be across your whole Facebook wall or anything like that. So we are a closed community full of supportive women who are all on their common journey of improving their diet and lifestyle, using better products and all of that good stuff. So if you want to be part of that group, just head over and request and we will accept your request. And let's get started with the video.
So to get started, we want to talk about what we look for in a healthy meal. So when you're going out to a restaurant, you can look at the menu and feel a bit combobulated. There's a lot of stuff on there.
But there are some things that you can definitely look for in most restaurants that are going to keep you on the safe side.
Yeah. So generally we're looking at a meal that's going to have, number one, a source of protein. So even like a steak or, a piece of chicken. So something that's going to be really satiating, going to fill you up. And then we're also going to be looking for some greens. So sometimes you have to mix and match a meal as well. If it comes with, say, like a potato bake and you don't want to eat that, you can always ask to swap that for some broccoli or whatever greens they've got on hand. So there's usually all the sides on the menu that you can swap out and chop and change.
So most restaurants, I find, even at Italian, you can always find, a grilled fish or another protein source with just sauteed vegetables. You just might have to, as Amy said, mix and match and ask the waiter to make some alterations to the dish in some cases. But I find that restaurants, especially in Australia, are becoming a lot more aware about food intolerances and things, so you can often find a good gluten and dairy-free option on the menu, if that's what you're looking for. So we're going to move on now to our 3 top tips for eating out healthy and being social.
So our first tip is to decide ahead of time, and what we mean by that is really deciding what your health standards are or what you're going to accept or not accept. So for us, we try to do paleo when we're at home, but when we go out we definitely loosen that up a bit. So, but then it is different again depending on what your reasons are behind your health, your healthy eating choices. So
I like to think of it as like your personal rules. If you have a rule that you already know ahead of time is something that you're not going to break, then it takes away the temptation in the moment. So if you go out to a restaurant, for example, and you're not sure whether or not you drink alcohol on weeknights or something. And you go there and you think, oh, well, I'll decide when I get there, and then you drink it because everyone else is, and then you feel bad.
Or you just have this inner conflict for a lot of the night, thinking, oh, am I going to have it? Am I not going to have it? Then they're asking
the whole question. That makes the whole question quite stressful, doesn't it? But if you already know, well, it's Monday night, I don't drink alcohol Monday nights. You go in there with confidence and you don't have that mental gymnastics around the question. So I think an example, personally, is that I don't eat gluten or dairy. That's quite important to me that I abide that personal rule when I eat out. I've had problems with my gut or with my skin, and I know that that's a personal rule that I'm not willing to break. So I don't experience really any conflict in my mind around that. It's almost if
that's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. I just know that it's not good for me. I experience problems when I have an intolerance. So it's really just out of the question. Whereas for Amy, you eat paleo.
But it's different. So I will usually stick to gluten-free, but I am much more relaxed about things like dairy. At home I won't be going out of my way to eat dairy, but when I go out I'm not going to worry if there's some feta on a salad, because it's just not a big thing for me,
So it just helps to be clear so that you're not getting there and then having this stressful situation of should I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I.
Yeah, so it's also good to know yourself. So are you a moderator or are you an abstainer? So the abstainer usually has more of an all or nothing attitude. So you eat one cookie and then it turns into 20 cookies. You know, that it's like the floodgates open once you make one compromise or bad decision, and you can't really get back on the wagon. Whereas if you're more of a moderator and you can have that one thing, you know, that one naughty thing and stop at that, then it's okay. So it's also kind of about knowing yourself and how, you know, what your relationship is with food.
And for any of you that also follow a paleo lifestyle, we wanted to also mention that we always, when we eat out, we think about the scale of what we would call more inflammatory, I guess, to less so. And there are things that we, for example, if we go to Mexican, we're not going to be worried about a few beans or even corn.
Yeah,
it's just not something that really bothers us too much when we're eating out, because on the scale of the foods that are outside paleo, we would consider gluten and dairy to be the more inflammatory foods, which we look to avoid as much as possible. For me, I look to avoid 100%. So it's sort of that scale as well. What are you kind of not too worried about versus what do you know and want to?
So when we go out and, you know, if you go out and there's some beans in your dish or some rice, we're not going to freak out and be like, oh, I can't eat this.
Yeah, so to all the ladies that are asking us, what do you do about chickpeas or beans or worried about eating rice when they're out or even at home, to be honest, you know, there are some things that are on the fringe which, you know, it's up to you how strict you want to be, but you know, they're on the lower end of the scale. And if you eat out and you're at Mexican, please don't worry about eating a few beans unless it really causes you a problem.
Yeah.
So our second tip is to ask for what you want and stand up for yourself. So we mentioned at the beginning of this video that it's completely a thing to go into the restaurant and mix and match some of the items on your plate. So perhaps asking the waiter to swap out your potato bake for some sauteed greens. Now, I feel that it's quite a source of stress for a lot of you out there to ask for what you want. But we would really encourage you to not be afraid, just to stand up for yourself and ask for what it is that you want. You know, restaurants, they're serving hundreds of people and so many people with different dietary requirements, preferences, intolerances. You know, there's no one really there pressuring you to make a choice that you don't want to make.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I think it's just a mental drama that we entertain, you know, that will upset the waiter or that we will be embarrassed in front of our friends or be that painful person.
It's like you're being an inconvenience. So often it may feel like you're being an inconvenience, but it's just realizing that, yeah, like you were saying, that hundreds of people have dietary requirements. It's completely fine to ask for something different off the menu, and just making sure that you're polite, of course, and they'll always be happy to look after you.
And our third and final tip, which we want to chat about, is the fact that what others think of you is none of your business. So we've spoken about deciding ahead of time, and then also how to approach the menu and how to ask for what you want from the waiter or waitress. But we haven't touched on the fact that there'll often be people with you at the restaurant, your friends and family, who you feel might be judging you for being a pain. And we really want to make the point that you cannot control what other people think about you, and it's really none of your business. For example, you know, somebody might think that you're making these healthy choices and you're really inspiring. They want to know more about your diet, they want to know what you're doing. You know, they find it really interesting, and other people
are just going to think that you're a pain in the ass.
Other people are going to think, oh, she's really annoying, she's all on the gluten-free bandwagon, you know, it's all a fad. So, you know, you're the constant in this situation, and you can see it's really dependent on the lens of all the other people looking at the situation, how they interpret it and what they think about it. So, you know, if you live trying to please other people, you're always going to be, I think, giving yourself the shaft in all ways. So
the other thing that I'll add on to that though is that if you're with other people and you have all these things that you do special with your diet, you don't ever want to come off as preachy. So the thing is that if people want to know about it, they will ask, and that gives you an opportunity to talk about it. But otherwise, well, I know, at least for myself, I never really talk about You know,
you don't want to give out unsolicited advice and be up in
it
people's
really
grill
rubs
about
people the wrong way.
Yeah, so just do what you want to do for yourself and the rest will follow. Enjoy your time out and just don't worry too much about it. We know that the social aspect of eating healthy is quite complex, so I don't think this is going to be the first video that we make on this topic. You know, we know that there's also the dynamic of whether your family at home eats healthy, and even we have requests from some of you who are living with your parents and then buying food that isn't what you want to eat, and so there's just a lot to it, especially at home. So if you have any questions coming out of this video for maybe a part 2 in the future, then leave a comment below.
So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up so that other people can find our channel. And if you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to click the subscribe button that's around here or around here somewhere. And we'll see you in our next video. Bye guys.
Bye. Hi guys, so today we're sharing some of our favourite healthy snacks. These are all gluten-free, dairy-free, and if you followed our channel for